Welcome back to the In Between podcast. I am your host, Cassidy, and I am so excited to finish this season with an interview with none other than Gwen Tinsley of Grit and Tenacity Consulting. Gwen is my personal sales coach, and she helps female entrepreneurs have more authentic and confident sales conversations, and that pretty much sums her up. She is so wonderful. She has taught me so much about how I can come from such an authentic and caring place when I enter sales conversations, but that I can also make more money, and I can do so by being value driven. This conversation is so much fun because we talk all about my personal sales journey and working with her, but we also go through a lot of the nitty gritty of her sales process. And honestly, you're going to need a notepad because she gives away so much good advice and tips that you're going to want to write it down. So if you're interested in learning more about sales, if you're a service-based business, even if you're not, this approach to sales is very different than what you're used to. And I highly, highly recommend this episode as well as Gwen. So give this episode a listen. And if you like what you hear, don't feel like you can't reach out to Gwen to learn more. Welcome to the In Between podcast. I'm your host, Cassidy Owen, and I'm the founder of Cassidy Lynn Social, a social media management agency dedicated to helping brands find their authentic voice online. But more importantly, I'm someone who believes that the real magic happens in the messy middle, the in-between moments that shape who we become. Every week, I sit down with female founders, entrepreneurs, and incredible humans who are navigating growth, failure, and everything in between. So grab a nice coffee, get comfortable, and let's dive into today's conversation. Gwen, welcome to the In Between podcast. I am so excited to have you on. And before we start, I want to say that I actually found Gwen and really decided to reach out to her from listening to a podcast. So make sure if you're a business owner, you're listening to podcasts, because I will say that reaching out to Gwen, and now she's my coach, changed my life, all thanks to a podcast. So Gwen, welcome to the In Between podcast.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for that introduction. And wow, you know what? God is so good, can I just tell you? Because I, just in this little short conversation that we're having right now, I'm like, Gwen, do more podcasting. I've been putting that off, so what a sweet reminder. Thank you so much. And
oh my goodness,
trust and believe, as much as you say that I've changed your world, you've changed mine just as equally. So thank you so much for the honor.
Well, you're the best. And I actually was introduced to Gwen through the Branding Business School podcast, which we had Victoria on earlier this season, who is a mutual friend of both of ours. And I listened to an episode that she did with you, and she's done multiple, but I got to hear a little bit about what you do and who you are. And I immediately was like, okay, I need to learn more. Like, this actually sounds fun. So I would love for you to introduce my audience into your world, what you do and what you specialize in, and how it's changing businesses and lives.
Oh my gosh, thank you again for that sweet introduction. Yes, Victoria is amazing. The Branding Business School, the Brandwell podcast, you got to check it out. Victoria and I go way back. We worked in corporate, which is how I started my business, actually. So hi, everybody. I am a sales strategist for the female entrepreneur, primarily in the B2B space, online space. So I support women just like Cassidy and many other in that online space to have more authentic, confident sales conversations. Honestly, I did not grow up and say that I wanted to be a salesperson. I really ran from that most of my career. I thought people, I should say, right, were icky, slimy, used car salesmen. I avoided it most of my career, actually, because I just didn't like the ickiness of it all. And then I actually fell into Mary Kay, believe it or not, and I was a car driving director. I always get the question, did you drive the pink Cadillac? I was like, this close. But I did earn 3 free cars in Mary Kay, top 1%. And it was during my time in my training under someone who's still a very near and dear friend of mine, Karen Riedel. She is a national sales director of Mary Kay. It was under my training with her that I started to understand that selling isn't about being sold something, right? It's actually one of the most powerful tools and skill sets that women, and particularly today's world, can have. It is about helping someone have a different thought. It is about connecting a solution to a problem and doing that from a place of authenticity, from a place of natural curiosity and the natural desire to actually genuinely want to help people. And that's at the core of what I coach, and I help women build sales conversations and processes around that.
Yeah. And I think that's what attracted me to you most when I listened to that podcast episode, because you talked a lot about your philosophy and your view and how it comes from that caring aspect of wanting to help people, that I was like, wait, I've never thought about sales that way, right? Like I thought about it as, oh, this is scary and also awkward. Like I'm asking you for money, and all those different aspects of it. And I never had that lens. And then when I got to dig into your content and I listened to some of your podcasts that you have done, and I really just felt like, oh, this is such a different angle. And then walking through your program, I was able to learn that too, of like, there's a lens in which you view selling that makes it so much easier and feel so less sticky and gross. And that's what I appreciate most about it, because no matter how you view it, the world teaches us a certain version of selling that I think your lens is so opposite, and it's been refreshing to know that there's other ways to look at it.
Oh, yeah. Thank you so much for that. And again, right, like we are a product of our own perceptions, right? I always say people's perceptions are the realities. And we've all had really bad sales experience. I mean, we all know what it feels like to be sold to, right? And you end up walking away with something that you really didn't need or want, and you have just this like buyer's remorse. But if I may, Cassidy, can I share a little bit about our journey together and kind of like where we started with you? Okay, because I think it's so powerful. You're just such a testament of someone that is coachable and someone that knows your value and knows your worth, but had a hard time translating that into something that you felt good about people buying, right? You're not alone. I think women in general have a hard time. We're such heart-led creatures, and we just naturally, that's how we were created, to be nurturers, right? And to want to help others. And when we put on this, okay, I'm now the CEO of my business, and that's a hard thing for us to swallow too, because we might have all fallen into business just like helping this person over here and then this person over here, and then next thing you know, we're helping lots of people, right? And we've fallen into this, well, I was helping this person over here with doing some posting just on Facebook, or I was helping this person over here just with like content creation, but wasn't really necessarily posting. And I think where you found yourself was you were kind of doing things hourly, I think, if I recall at one point, right? And there's a whole thing that I talk about. If you are doing hourly, please stop. But really helping to build your confidence in the value that you actually give these businesses. I think it's so easy for us to trivialize what we do down to like, well, who's going to pay for someone to post 3 to 5 times on their social media? Well, it's not just you behind the scenes hitting a button posting for, love of God. No, you are helping them grow and scale their business, right? And I think it was really helping you get that conviction again of what I do matters, what I do moves the needle, what I do is so much more than just posting on social media. And once, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. Once we had that shift, we were able to move into a model that really positions you as the authority and the expert and helps people understand that you're not just posting. The biggest secret to your sauce, if you will, is your strategy, is your reporting, is your partnership with them, so that posting doesn't feel like posting. It's actually planned, strategic. There's an intention behind what it is that we're doing each and every post. And I think that's really comforting to so many people that are just willy-nilly posting on social media, hoping and praying that it works, right?
Yep, absolutely. And I would agree. I think the value in which I found is, one, immediately when I showed you my dirty laundry, if you will, of like, hey, here's all the things that I do within my business and how I interact with each client. I mean, your first reaction was like, okay, well then we're raising our rates because this is crazy. And I was already in a little bit of that conversation with other coaches I have, and I was nervous. I was like, I don't think people will pay those rates. It's social media, right? I just brushed it off, and you would keep telling me like, well, it's not just social media. You're doing this, you're doing that, you're reporting, you're like all these different aspects. Look at how much time you're spending on one client. And when I looked at it through that lens, and at the same time had Palmer coming on, my new social media manager, it was like this bigger question of like, okay, well now I need to charge these rates, 1, to make sure I'm paid, 2, to make sure she's paid. And then also that's actually what it costs, right? And 1, that was a huge leap for me because I know I really didn't feel confident in charging the prices I currently was, let alone jumping to the prices that you and I created. And then the second part was the value driven, which I still struggle with, I'll be honest. And we just had that conversation yesterday, but looking at it through the lens of not just, hey, here's the deliverable, here's the pizza that shows up at your house, and more so like, what is the value within all of that? I'm someone who leads with facts. Like, I love all the information. And so it's been hard for me to like, one, lead with the value, but also not push everything onto them and give them all of those things. So when you look at female entrepreneurs and who you work with your process, what do you feel like is the hardest part for them to understand or have a mindset switch around sales?
Yeah. So first of all, I just want to say too that I think the other part that we were working on, I want to just land on this too, is providing your business some stability from a financial perspective, because you were bringing on Palmer, right? And that's a huge investment in risk, and you want to commit to people and know that you're going to be able to afford them. But also as business owners, we need to be able to forecast, and we need to be able to plan, and we need to be able to have proactive conversations with our clients, so that if it's month to month or something, right, that's ripped away from us. And then, oh my gosh, we get into these cycles where we panic, and then we panic sell, and that gets nobody anywhere good. And so like really just building that consistency. So we moved from the hourly and even the monthly to more of a 4-month container, and then building that value piece that you were talking about too. What you're describing is like sharing everything in the kitchen sink. I call that word vomiting. Like, we just want to throw up everything that we can do onto our clients. And it's like, whoa. They don't care about a lot of those things, right? They want the outcome. The in-between is just a vehicle to get them to the outcome. And that's where we live, though. That's the middle that we're talking about right now. Like, that's where we live when we're operating within our business, is in the middle. And so it's so incredibly hard. I think, to circle back to your question that you had, and it's a good segue. It's like, where I see the most resistance is it's so incredibly hard for us to come out of the weeds in the middle of like the daily tasked things that we do that we know that works, that get the result, to be able to talk about it from a lens of someone that really probably doesn't care about those little in the weed things. Again, they care about the outcome. So how do we get reconvicted? Because I think that, again, business is hard and people are messy, and if they're not singing your praises, they're complaining about you. And I feel like people write more bad reviews than they do good reviews because they want to get their frustration out, right? And so it's easy for us to go inward and say, what am I doing wrong? Or to think that we need to change our entire model because one or two clients complain. And in reality, if we had a sales conversation and a sales process that actually set expectations and alignment from the beginning, we would have more clients that were fully aligned, fully met expectations on both sides. And so then the delivery of that would be better too. But I think, again, just to specifically answer your question, and you struggle with this a little bit too, is really understanding that you are impacting a business, that your little piece of the puzzle, how little or large it is moving the needle. And I try to share it with everybody. Listen, when you're talking to especially other business owners, right, they want to know one of three things. Are you helping them increase their revenue or grow their business? Are you helping them save money? Or are you helping them reduce uncertainty, right? Risk. If you're doing one of those three things, you have huge impact in their business, and it's worth paying for.
Yes, you drill that in every call we've had, and I still have to remind myself when I'm sitting for a call, like, okay, what am I doing? And I think the powerful part of those three things outside of the sales conversation is like, if you're having an imposter day and you go back to those three questions and you can confidently say yes, it's like, okay, then you're good. Let yourself breathe for a second.
Yeah.
I'd love to go through your process of the sales call, because it's also so different than anything I've seen on both being sold to and not. One, running through your sales process and then going through Victoria's, and you're Victoria's coach. So she uses your tactics. Everything from the slide presentation to truly every single slide is dedicated and has a purpose, but also your version of storytelling. What do you believe makes a good sales call?
Yeah. Oh man. Okay. So do we have all day?
Buckle up.
I know that this is a podcast, so I'm going to try and keep it short, but really, it's really two components. I separate out into what I call the sales call. Okay. And again, there's a difference between marketing and sales. I just want to say that marketing is what Cassidy does. She gets people to, or lead them to water. In the sales conversations, we have to get them to drink, right? And so if you think that your market is doing your selling, I just want to say that that's already an area that you probably need to focus on, and I can certainly help you with that. But the idea of marketing is to get people to want to reach into you and to learn more, right? Whether that is through your website and or to want to have a conversation with you to understand how you can help them. So I separate my sales call into two parts, okay? And now some of my clients do it all within the same hour. Some of my clients do two separate calls. It's really dependent upon what it is that you're selling, the complexity of it, I feel like, and then preference, in all honesty, right? I do feel that two calls are better than one, but I do also understand some of the hesitation around that. So I always say we can customize it, but there are some success factors in there that I take into account. So all that to say, I have a discovery call, which is part one of the sales call, and then I have a sales presentation, which is part two of the sales call. The discovery call is critical. We are looking for three things: fit, cause, and energy. So are they a good fit for you? And girlfriends, you are the CEO of your own business. If they have purple hair and you don't like purple hair, guess what? You can say they're not a good fit for you, okay? And so getting really granular about what is a good fit for me. And I'm talking personality. You don't want to work with a jerk any more than they want to work with a jerk, right? So if you get that icky vibe from personality, no, they're not a good fit for you. And it's okay to say that, okay? So getting really granular about that. And then cause, because cause and energy a lot of times go together, but what is causing someone to want to spend an hour learning about social media marketing, right? What is causing that? So really uncovering what's changed, something's happened, why now, right? And really digging in and asking the question, why? Why is that important to you? What is it that you're hoping to accomplish with social media marketing? Why is that important to you? Asking 5 or 6 times why. And then energy is not, woo, I'm so excited, although you'll get that with me. It's more along the lines of, are they window shopping, or are they looking to find a solution right now because they're just sick and tired of being sick and tired? And so that's what I call energy. And the reason that we want to look for those three things is I want to protect your time. I hate chasing people. I hate following up 10 million times. Nobody likes to do that. I don't like to do that any more than anybody else likes to do that, right? And so what we can do to protect ourselves in the beginning and really get a clear understanding of fit, cause, and energy will only serve us more in the sales presentation. And so once we have those three things, then we invite them, if they meet those metrics, we're clear on what's causing them, we're clear on the energy, and we're clear that, yep, they're a good fit, then we invite them to learn more about what working with us looks like. So this is a flip, right? It's a mental flip. So we're done talking about you. We spent the first half of the call talking all about you. Tell me about your business. Tell me why we're on this call, what you're hoping to accomplish, right? You. We're not flooding them with a ton of ideas. We're not brainstorming with them, right? We're not immediately going into, oh, this is how I can help you. It's all about them to get certainty on those three things. And only when those three things are checked off, we invite them in to then learn more about what we do and what working with us would look and feel like. And then that's the sales presentation. And the sales presentation is very story-based. It is very, hey, this is a little bit about me, personalized, because guess what? We're humans doing business with humans, and people don't care what you have to sell or do until they know how much you care about them, right? And a lot of people want to partner with other people that have passion and vision and mission, not just trying to be sold to, right? And we all started our businesses because we fell into it, but we all started these businesses to serve and help people. But we forget to talk about that in the very basis of our sales call, right? We go straight to the deliverables. And the fact is that no one really cares about the deliverables. They care about you as a human, and they care about the outcome that those deliverables are going to generate them. And so often we don't even talk about that. So it's a very story-based presentation style where we also educate. I think so many women, or business owners in general, but I know that we work with a lot of women, forget that not everybody knows what SEO is, right? We forget that not everybody understands what an algorithm is in social media. And so we use words that is in our everyday language, but may confuse somebody else. So I say, if you have children, anybody that has children out there, if you have 6th graders, I'm like, if your 6th grader wouldn't understand what you're selling, neither does your client. Okay. And I see you shaking your head, Cassidy, as if like, yep, that is the truth. Love to get your thoughts on that. But basically that is the successful components of my sales calls.
Yeah. What I love about your sales calls, and I've been through 2 myself, but I also have my own that I do, is that it leads with being ambitious, wanting to make money and grow your business, but without losing the authenticity that makes people trust you in the first place. And that to me was what attracted me to your style of sales, because one, that's my mission, right? Like I want to feel trusted. I want to build relationships with my clients, but at the end of the day, it's a business and I want to make money as well. And in working with mostly female founders, that's their goal too. They're on the other end of the call hoping to gain money, to gain clients, but also not to lose money or risk anything. And so learning those tactics and being able to walk through them as I've gradually learned over the last 3 or 4 months, I've seen a transition in the client feedback, especially splitting into 2 calls. Like that was huge for me because sales calls still feel scary to this day, even though I've gone through Gwen's training. So having that first call where pressure's off, right? Like I can just discover and I can learn and I can listen, totally takes the pressure off for then me to go into a sales call and be prepared and know what I'm doing. And I think that has been really tough for me too in my language and what I speak in every day to dumb things down. That's hard, especially when it comes to deliverables, right? Because I want to be like, oh, here's all the different things that you need and you should want, even though they don't really care, because again, they're looking at it from like, well, what am I going to get out of this? I think the presentation that we've been doing and working on over the last month has been probably my favorite part of it so far, because it's really kind of wrapping everything in a bow of like, okay, does this all sound good? Does it look good? Does it work well? And I do think the biggest transition I've seen is, again, going back to like the frequently asked questions. The clearer and clearer that the slideshow gets, the less and less those questions are having to be asked in the first place, right? Which means I'm doing my job of educating the client. The other point that I keep forgetting to bring up that I think has changed the business from feeling like a freelancer to actually feeling like a business owner is set packages and pricing that doesn't change. And as a social media manager, like any social media manager you talk to has an issue with this. In my other coaching with Sam Schmidt, who's also been on the podcast this season, she talks about it a lot, is like the $500 social media manager. Or you get on a sales call and they're like, well, I want LinkedIn and TikTok and YouTube. And you're like, sure, I do that. And it's like, no, you're an expert in one thing. These are your packages. They take those packages or they don't. And one, again, goes back to predictability of the revenue my business will create. But two, the confidence of that, of like, no, I don't do that. Or yes, I do. Here's where you can start. And then we can talk about more packages, has been so freeing and so much less anxiety going into a sales call, because I know what I'm presenting them and I probably presented it 2-3 times back and closed it, right? So I'd love for you to talk on that a little bit too, because I think as women, we want to say yes and customize every package because we want to say yes, but it doesn't actually serve us in the long run.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my goodness, yes. So predictability in your business is really key as much as you can. And again, we're in the service-based industry. And so most of us that are in service-based, my package is a minimum 3 months, because I know that it takes 90 days. So we're going to be building the things. We're practicing it along the way because you're having sales calls all throughout, right? But by the time that you go through and we are building the sales presentation, I want you to have 2 or 3 calls that you've sent me so that I can give you feedback and we can tweak the presentation together, because implementation is just as important to me as the build, right? And so the outcome that you get is what I am really striving for. And so again, part of the, I guess, psychology, if you will, behind also having a very thought out, structured discovery call and sales call is to really position yourself as the authority and the expert. If you have clients that are still talking to you, telling you what they want, that's a problem. That should be a red flag for you. We need to switch things up, okay? You want people coming to you looking at you as the leader and the guide and the expert. And that's what people want in today's world. We talk a lot about AI, and I know that this is a scary thing for a lot of us that are in the online space, right? Especially in Cassidy being a social media manager. I mean, someone could go into ChatGPT or Claude or whatever and say, give me a social media strategy, right? But at the end of the day, they still aren't experts in social media, and they don't know whether Claude or Gemini or ChatGPT is full of crap or not, right? There are certain things that go into the expertise and the knowledge and the years of experience that we have as professionals that is never going to come out of an AI tool, right? So I just want to share that piece with you is, again, we have to position ourselves as the authority and the expert. And in doing so, we also need to provide clarity, not confusion. And so many of you are still getting on these coffee chats or connection calls with no plan. I'll give you this too. The simple thing of being the first person. So you get on a call, Cassidy, hey girl, how are you? What's the weather like in California? Are you still in California? Are you out, in Vegas? Like, what are you doing this time? Oh, okay. All right, great. So then I better be the first person that says, hey Cassidy, thanks so much for getting on with me today. I am so excited and I cannot wait to talk to you about your sales. Tell me what's going on with your business. That in itself, that one simple thing, as minor as it is, will change your whole call. Because if you had to say to me, Gwen, yeah, I really want to know what it is that you do, you already subconsciously have lost faith in me. You already are like, I'm having to drive this. I don't want to drive this. This is why I'm calling somebody, because I want to be led and guided. I want to be told what I should do confidently because they're confident in the outcome that they're giving. So going back to your thing about talking about packages and stuff, right? It's safe for us to say, I'm going to do 3 to 5 posts. It's safe for us to say that I'm going to operate on 1 to 2 platforms. And it's safe. Why? Because it's measurable. Because when someone comes and complains, we can say, but I did what I told you to do. It doesn't feel safe when we say, I'm going to drive revenue for you. I'm going to get you new clients. I'm going to increase your business. That's scary. How do you measure that? Right? But those are what people are wanting to know, that what you're doing for them is ultimately happening, right? The importance of building out packages and the longevity of 6 months, 12 months, right? That is because you are focused on getting results. You know in your heart and mind that if you service them for 1 month, they aren't going to get crap, right? They might get a little bump, but is that really in the best interest of your client? Is that really what they want? No, they want results, big results. And you know that to do that, you have to have a certain amount of time to do that. And that's just part of your business. And you have that in your business because it's in the best interest for your client, because you're not trying to sell them something just to sell them something. You're trying to deliver them results.
Do you find across your clients that it is hard for these women to talk about themselves or the results that they've gotten for people? Is that a common problem?
For sure. Yeah, for sure. But that goes back again to storytelling, right? So in part of our presentation, there's a section where there's actually case studies or testimonials. And we talk about where that client was before they started working with you, and then the transformation and the outcome that they've had as a result of working with you, right? Again, that's a step of building that authority and that confidence, not only for you, but for your soon to be client too. Absolutely.
Yeah. And that part and those slides were scary for me too. And I know we just talked about it yesterday when we went through my final presentation, because I was like, well, I don't know if I can mimic these results. I don't know if I can. I mean, the strategies were different. I have all these things running through my head. And I think in the last 3 or 4 months, I've really gotten more confident in just saying those things and getting more confident. I just had one presentation that I actually got the client, and that was the first one that I actually presented those case studies on. And even redoing my website with Victoria, and they wanted to obviously have a case study page. And I was like, I don't know. Of course, in my industry, right, we don't promise results. We don't promise these things. And I've really had to challenge myself in how I view it based off of the result that the customer wants.
Yeah, and another thing too, and Victoria and I talk a lot about this too, but in Don Miller, if you haven't, Don Miller is a great book to read. I can't think of the name of it off the top of my head.
He leads like the story brand
telling, something like that, yeah.
Yep.
But he talks about, and this is something that has stuck with me, he talks about always making the customer the hero, right? So again, you're not delivering the results. These are the results that your clients got. Right? So it's really, again, making them the hero in every story and talking about how they were struggling and you were able to support them. And as a result of that, right now they're not struggling. They have time and they're not pulling their hair out because they don't know what to post next. And they've had X amount of percentage of increased traffic to their website, and their posts that were generating 3 likes a day have over 30 likes a day, and so on and so on. So, and I think you should really great metric. We were talking yesterday about we helped them generate $9,000 in sales or something like that, I think, right?
Yes, my photography client. Yes.
Yeah.
And that was off of a social post. One of the biggest things that I struggle with is imposter syndrome and feeling like I'm not good at my job. And that comes a lot with where I'm at in my industry, right? I literally work in an industry that changes by the minute. So there's a lot of narrative in that of like, are you keeping up with everything? Are you doing everything right? And I think working through this lens has benefited me more than the client, to be honest, because it allows me to feel confident when I show up and understand even that one client that you just brought up, right? I led them to the water. I created those posts and those concepts, but she went and skyrocketed through sales. And the power of me going through your program also, it let go a lot of control that I had over I'm in charge of the sale, because I'm not. Because learning through what you taught me, right, is I am in charge of educating the person, but my clients and what they're doing, I'm not in charge of the sale. And you were the one that actually came up with the analogy that I use in pretty much every sales call about, hey, I can lead them to water, but you have to make them drink. And anytime I have said that, I feel like I can see it in their eyes that it clicks, because I am releasing me and my team of that control. But were we a part of that $9,000 retainer that she scored? Absolutely. But she did the hard work. She went in there and she sold her butt off, and she's helping them in incredible ways. And that mindset switch through every sales call that I do, I feel like builds my confidence in something that I've struggled with from the beginning.
Oh, that's so beautiful to hear. Oh my gosh, it's so beautiful. Yeah, I mean, again, I just think that sales and marketing just over the time, and we see it, it's like, oh, just put this post and I sold X amount off this post. And so it's easy to say, well, social media should be selling for me. And I think you're the one that said, what is exactly that you said that I now use? So see, do you see what I mean? Like how we help each other. But it was, gosh, what it was, now I'm not going to be able to think of it, but it was where you talked about the social media platform is a visibility tool,
so the goal
not
of
a
social
sales
media,
tool.
right, is to increase your reach. And if you're only reaching 50 people, you can only sell to 50 people. You're probably not going to close to 50 people because those people aren't all your ideal audience. But if you're reaching 12,000 people, you're in a better place to get maybe 50 people that are actually your ideal audience. So even when we go through analytics, how I talk about the analytics, I feel like has even changed, because I need people to realize that reach of people that you weren't reaching the previous month are all new opportunities for you to potentially be on a sales call or book a client or buy the product, whatever that is.
Yeah. I think the good differentiator is like it's a visibility tool. It's not a sales tool. And that is really a great distinction. And I think people need to be re-educated on that, because I think that a lot of us have started to blend the two and they're just not the same.
Yeah, that's where it goes back in taking ownership of the education, which I think is something else that you've taught me of like, I think before I really was like, well, if they don't know it, that's their fault. And I take a lot more ownership of the education part of like, okay, hey, what can I be teaching you either on my social media or in this sales call that's going to educate you to better understand what I do and why I do it. And that way your expectations when I deliver analytics reports in 3 months and you haven't maybe closed a client are like, oh, this is actually working, because you're not expecting that a month later a client closed, because that's not my role. And I think that's been a huge part of having the sales presentation and people walking through it. And now I'm so careful about even the partnerships I have, the partnership I have with Michaela at Macmo Photo, even her coming in, and those leads are extremely warm because they're already retainers with her, still go through my individual sales process. Because even though I know she's vetting people that are aligned with what I do, they still need to have that other layer of education, no matter where they're coming from.
Yeah, that's so incredibly powerful and amazing. And I'm so proud of you. And oh my gosh, just watching through my lens, it gives my heart just so much joy knowing where you started and then just seeing your confidence build and seeing the aha moments. And then when you put it into practice, and again, we hadn't really fully fleshed out that sales presentation together. You put it together based off of a training and that I had sent you and just some tips here and there. And you sold her on the first thing. And there were definitely some areas that we could improve. But again, I just want to say it doesn't have to be perfect. You don't have to be perfect, right? It's just really building that authenticity, coming from that genuine desire to want to help somebody, and then knowing your value and your worth and not apologizing for it is a really important piece.
It's funny, as you were talking, I'm like, truly the last 3 months have been an in-between moment, right? Because I didn't have the full sales presentation, but I would learn X, Y, and Z, and I'd be like, oh, I have a sales call on Thursday. Let me go and implement these. And so it's only obviously right now that I'm kind of at the finish line of tying things up. But through all of that, right, you're in the in-between moment and still implementing new things you're learning. And then you see like, oh, that worked, or I didn't love that. And all of those aspects of it. As far as your business and your sales process, what in between moment are you currently working through in your own business?
Yeah, right. We all get on these things and act like we had it figured out and we're all don't have the problems that everybody else has, and that's just not the truth. That's not the truth. So I am in a season, it has been a year. I will just straight up tell you, it has been a year. I am in a lot of personal transitions, seasonal changes, things that I could not have even seen coming if I tried, and it has really impacted my business. And as you all know, part of the pressure of being a solopreneur in the online space is if you don't show up, your business ultimately starts to kind of go backwards, right? And so I've been very distracted with the personal things going on in my business, but that's also the blessing and the beauty of having our own business, is that we have the flexibility to put our attention where it needs to be and not feel like we're letting other people down, or like we're going to get fired, or even be put into situations where we have to choose. I mean, my childhood best friend on vacation 2 weeks ago had a brain aneurysm while we were with her. I mean, like, hello, right? And so I've been able to literally go and be with her as much as I wanted to, while my other girlfriend has to take time off and work in the car ride on the way down and attend meetings and can't be as present as I think that she would like to be. And so looking at that through those lenses, I still feel very blessed and grateful that I've built the business to what it is, that it could sustain me. And is it where I want it to be? Absolutely not. But I think that God is at work. I'm not entirely sure what he's at work doing. I've had 2 calls today, actually, one with a current client of mine who, again, just the little seeds that I feel like God is dropping in this call, where the impact that you guys have shared that I've had literally brings me to tears and helps just feed me and my soul that like I need to keep doing this. I just don't know in what capacity I'm going to try to expand right now. So that's the middle that I'm in, of like just feeling very dispersed with my attention and time and having a hard time focusing, but then being reminded that God definitely put this business in my lap. And I will never forget that day when Victoria, so circling this back to Victoria, when she called me and said, will you coach me in sales? I said, go hire a sales coach. And she said, I don't want a sales coach. I want you. You're the most authentic person I know. I attended your training and always felt inspired and motivated and not sold to. And she's like, that's what I want for my business. And then a year later, she said, will you be the official sales coach for the branding business school? And I said, yeah, sure, whatever you need. And she goes, I don't think you know what I'm asking. You need to start a business. And I'm like, what? Like, what? And here I am. So I can't imagine that God would have put this in my lap the way that he did if he didn't plan to see me through it and equip me. So all of that to say, that's the middle that I'm in right now. But if anybody's interested in learning more about how to have more authentic, confident sales conversations that feel aligned and good, then I'm always open, and you can reach me at Grit and Tenacity Consulting.
Yes, well, I appreciate you sharing that, because I think it's so important. It's our business. We can pause it and we can slow down and we can speed up and we can do all of those things, and it still is successful, right? Like, it's not what this hustle culture society says, that like, oh, well, if you don't have this $1 million or $1 billion business. And I was just talking to a client before this, Sarah, who's been on the podcast, of this pressure of high achieving women to like, next step. And then if you don't reach it, it's not success. And it's like, that's not true. It's what you define it. And so I actually commend you with, and you have had a lot more going on than what you just shared about your friend, but I commend you for, one, still keeping with the business, and 2, also I commend you for choosing your family and choosing your friends in the midst of the year you've had, because I think it's also easy to just be like, well, I have this big business, I have these things I need to do, I have to focus on that first. That's easily a choice as well. And to be in the capacity to choose them and still make sure things are running, that's also a really hard choice and a powerful one.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that more than you know. Yeah, I mean, the power choice, right? My license plate says options. I believe that we are never without options. So long as you believe in yourself and you know what you're capable of, there's always, your back is never against the corner or you're up against the wall. There's always options. So that's my mantra.
I love that. And I love that that is your mantra, and I'm going to steal that because that is so, so good. Well, I cannot thank you enough for all the things that you've done within my business. And if anyone's listening to this and you're in the service-based industry and you're like, what the heck? Like, I've been doing sales wrong. That's how I felt after I listened to your podcast.
It's not wrong. It can just be tweaked to feel better.
I needed to be better. I highly recommend reaching out to Gwen, going to her website. We'll link everything in the show notes, but I just messaged her on Instagram and then we ended up having a really great call that piqued my interest. So I highly recommend it because it will come back to you in one, just the confidence, but let alone the money itself. So Gwen, thank you so much. I cannot thank you enough for one, popping on this podcast and the crazy week you've had, but also all that you have led me through. You've been an incredible mentor and I can't wait to see what's to come.
Oh, you're an angel. Thank you so much for all of that. I appreciate you, Cassidy, and best of luck. Mwah.
Yes. Thanks for joining us on the In Between podcast, and we'll catch you next time. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I hope this conversation gave you exactly what you needed to hear, whether that's permission to slow down, motivation to keep going, or just a reminder that you're not alone in the in-between moments. Now, if you're a female founder or a value-driven brand looking to build meaningful connections on social media, I'd love to work with you. At Cassidy Lynn Social, we help brands express their authentic voice through strategy-driven social media management. Head to CassidyLynnSocial.com to learn more about how we can work together. And if you've loved this episode, please share it with someone who needs to hear it. Screenshot it and tag me on Instagram at Cassidy Lynn Social. And if you're going through your own in-between moment right now, keep showing up. The growth is happening even when you can't see it. I'll see you next week for another in-between conversation.